Every weakness you have is also your greatest advantage. And no one will tell you this because it sounds insane. It sounds like participation trophy psychology, like everyone gets a medal nonsense. But I am not speaking from a place of comfort. I am speaking from battlefields where the wrong strategy meant death. And here is what I learned. The commander who knew his army was slow did not make them faster. He chose terrain where speed did not matter. The archer who could not see long distances did not fix his eyes. He positioned himself closer. Your impatience, your overthinking, your emotionality, your rigidity, these are not flaws to eliminate. They are intelligence to decode. They are telling you where not to fight. And once you listen, you become unconquerable. My name is Sun Tzu, and I have spent lifetimes watching people destroy themselves trying to fix what was never broken. I have watched generals lose wars not because their armies were weak, but because they tried to make their armies something they were not. I have watched brilliant tacticians fail because they fought in terrain that did not suit them. And I have watched ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things not because they overcame their weaknesses, but because they made their weaknesses irrelevant. You have been taught to conquer your weaknesses by attacking them directly. Work on your weakness. Overcome it. Turn it into a strength. Face your fears. Push through your limitations. Become well-rounded. Eliminate your flaws. This is the advice you have received your entire life. From your parents. From your teachers. From every self-help book and motivational speaker and success guru. And it has failed you. Not because you did not try hard enough. Not because you are not capable, but because the strategy itself is fundamentally flawed. Here is the truth no one tells you. Most weaknesses cannot be eliminated, and the attempt to eliminate them wastes time, energy, and creates shame when you inevitably fail. I am going to say that again, because it is the foundation of everything I am about to teach you. Most weaknesses cannot be eliminated. They are part of your nature. They are woven into who you are. And trying to cut them out is like trying to remove the color from your eyes or the texture from your skin. You can spend your entire life trying, and all you will accomplish is exhaustion and self-hatred. But there is another way, a way that requires no willpower, no self-improvement, no becoming someone you are not. It is the way of strategy, the way of positioning, the way I used to win battles without fighting. And it is this: you do not win by becoming strong everywhere. You win by making your weaknesses irrelevant. This video exists to completely reframe your relationship with weakness. The core pain this addresses is simple, and it is deep. You are exhausted from trying to fix yourself. You have identified your weaknesses. Maybe it is procrastination. Maybe it is anxiety. Maybe it is conflict avoidance or impulsivity, or your inability to focus for long periods, or your sensitivity, or your temper, or your need for approval. Whatever they are, you have been working on them for years. You have read the books. You have tried the techniques. You have made the promises to yourself. And they persist. The weaknesses persist. And every time they show up, you feel shame. You feel like you are failing at the most basic task, which is becoming better. But here is what you have misunderstood. You believe weakness is something to overcome. But weakness is not a moral failing. Weakness is terrain. Just as a general does not try to flatten mountains, you do not need to eliminate weakness. You need to position yourself so it does not matter. You need to choose battles where your weakness is never tested. You need to build a life where your natural strengths are required and your natural weaknesses are irrelevant. What this video will give you is three things. First, a complete strategic reframe from "how do I fix this" to "how do I make this irrelevant?" This removes shame and replaces it with clarity. Second, the mind control strategy. Not controlling your weakness, but controlling the conditions under which it appears, the context in which it operates, and the way you position yourself in relation to it. And third, freedom from the self-improvement trap. The realization that you do not need to become someone else to succeed. You need to build a life that fits who you already are. Here is the myth I need to bust right now before we go any further. Self-improvement culture tells you that successful people have overcome their weaknesses. This is a lie. Successful people have positioned themselves so their weaknesses are never tested. They have built lives, careers, and relationships where their natural strengths are leveraged and their natural weaknesses are irrelevant. The entrepreneur who cannot follow rules did not learn to follow rules. He built a business where there are no rules to follow. The artist who cannot handle criticism did not develop thick skin. She built an audience that loves her work. The introvert who hates networking did not force himself to become extroverted. He created value so profound that people came to him. You are not failing because you cannot eliminate your weaknesses. You are failing because you are trying to fight battles in terrain that does not suit you. And once you learn to choose different terrain, everything changes. This is not about acceptance in the soft passive sense. This is about strategy. This is about winning. This is about conquering your weakness, not by destroying it, but by making it powerless. Let me tell you a story. And this story will show you exactly what I mean. There was a kingdom I was advising many years ago, and this kingdom had a problem. Their army was weak defensively. They were poorly trained in holding ground. They could not withstand a siege. They broke easily under sustained pressure. The king knew this. His generals knew this. And their solution was predictable. They wanted to train the army to be better defenders. They wanted to drill them, to discipline them, to turn them into the kind of soldiers who could hold a position no matter what. And the king asked me how long this would take. I looked at him and I said, it will take years, maybe 5 years, maybe 10. And even then, it might not work. Because you are trying to make your army something it is not. Your soldiers are not naturally defensive. They do not have the temperament for it. They are restless. They are aggressive. They want to move. They want to attack. And you are trying to turn them into something that goes against their nature. The king was frustrated. He said, so what do we do? Do we just accept that we are weak? Do we just lose every time someone attacks us? And I said, no. We changed the strategy entirely. We refused to defend. We never put ourselves in a defensive position. We always attack. We strike first. We move constantly. We never give the enemy a chance to siege us because we are never in one place long enough to be sieged. The king thought I was insane. He said, but what if we cannot attack? What if the enemy is too strong? What if we must defend? And I said, then we retreat. We withdraw. We refuse to fight that battle. Because a battle that requires you to be something you are not is a battle you have already lost. So we changed everything. We trained the army not in defense, but in speed, in surprise, in aggression. We positioned them so their weakness in defense was never tested. And do you know what happened? That army became feared, not despite their weakness, but because they refused to fight in the way that would expose it. Enemies would prepare for a siege, and the army would attack their supply lines instead. Enemies would fortify their positions, and the army would move around them entirely. The weakness did not go away. The inability to defend did not magically transform into strength, but it became irrelevant because they never defended. And this is the lesson. You do not fix the weakness. You refuse to fight where the weakness matters. You hear that? You refuse to fight where the weakness matters. This is the entire strategy. This is everything. You are trying to defend when you are built to attack, or attack when you are built to create, or lead when you are built to support. And the mismatch is killing you. You are exhausted because you are trying to be good at something that goes against your nature. And you think the answer is to try harder, to force yourself more, to develop the skill you lack. But the answer is to change the battlefield, to choose different terrain, to stop fighting in ways that require strengths you do not have. But how do you know which battles to avoid? How do you know which weaknesses matter and which do not? Let me show you through another story. There was a general in my army, a brilliant man, tactical, dedicated. But he had a weakness that everyone could see. He could not sleep. He was plagued by anxiety. He overthought every decision. He would lie awake at night, running through scenarios, questioning his choices, worrying about what could go wrong. The other generals mocked him for this. They said a leader must be decisive, calm, unshakable. They said his anxiety was a weakness that would get men killed. And the general heard this, and he tried to fix it. He tried meditation. He tried discipline. He tried every technique to control his mind, to calm his thoughts, to become the kind of leader who could make a decision and then sleep peacefully. But none of it worked. The anxiety remained. The overthinking remained. And he started to believe that he was fundamentally broken, that he was not meant to lead. So I sat with him one night, and I watched him. I watched him go through his scenarios. I watched him question everything. I watched him prepare for every possible outcome. And I realized something. His anxiety was not weakness. It was vigilance misdirected. His overthinking was not a flaw. It was a gift being misused. So I said to him, "You are trying to eliminate the wrong thing. Your anxiety is not the problem. The problem is that you are trying to be someone you are not. You are trying to be the general who makes quick decisions and never looks back. But that is not you. You are the general who sees every angle, who prepares for every possibility, who never walks into a situation blind. And that is not weakness. That is your strength. The question is, are you using it or fighting it?" He did not understand at first. So I gave him a different role. Instead of trying to make him calm, I made him the one responsible for reconnaissance, for intelligence, for preparation. I told him, channel your overthinking into preparation. Channel your vigilance into night strategy sessions. Use your sleeplessness to study the enemy while they sleep. Stop trying to be the general who rests easy. Become the general who is always 10 steps ahead, and everything changed. Within weeks, he became the most prepared commander in the entire army. He knew things about the enemy that no one else knew. He saw patterns that no one else saw. He prepared for scenarios that no one else considered. And when battles happened, he was never surprised. He was never caught off guard because he had already thought through everything. His weakness, the thing he had tried to eliminate for years, became his greatest tactical advantage, not because he overcame it, but because he redirected it. He stopped fighting it and started using it. He stopped trying to be calm and started leveraging his vigilance, and he became unconquerable. This is the paradox. The thing you are trying to eliminate might be the source of your effectiveness once redirected. What you call weakness is often just strength in the wrong context. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is perception. It lets you read people. It lets you feel what others miss. It lets you create art that moves people. The question is, are you trying to numb it or are you trying to use it? Your impatience is not weakness. It is urgency. It drives you forward. It makes you act while others hesitate. It gives you momentum. The question is, are you trying to slow down or are you trying to find environments where speed is rewarded? Your caution is not weakness. It is wisdom. It protects you from reckless decisions. It makes you thorough. It makes you reliable. The question is, are you trying to be bolder, or are you trying to find roles where caution is valued? These stories reveal a pattern, and the pattern is this. Weakness is not the problem. Position is the problem. Context is the problem. You are trying to be strong in terrain that does not suit you, and no amount of effort will make you suited for terrain that goes against your nature. So let me break down exactly how to think about this. Let me give you the lessons clearly. The first lesson is this. Weakness is conditional, not absolute. No trait is inherently weak. It is only weak in specific contexts. Being slow is a weakness in a sprint, but an advantage in endurance. Being emotional is a weakness in a negotiation, but an advantage in art. Being detail-oriented is a weakness in brainstorming, but an advantage in execution. Being spontaneous is a weakness in accounting, but an advantage in sales. Do you see this? The same trait can be a weakness or a strength depending entirely on where you use it. So the shift is simple. Stop asking, how do I fix this? Start asking, where does this serve me? If you are conflict averse, do not force yourself into confrontational roles. Do not become a litigator or a debt collector or a manager who must fire people. That is fighting in terrain that does not suit you. Instead, build systems, create art, design processes where conflict is minimized by structure. Become the person who solves problems before they become conflicts. Your conflict avoidance is not weakness. It is a preference for harmony. And there are entire industries built on harmony. Find them. If you are terrible with details, do not become an accountant or an engineer or a lawyer. Do not spend your life in roles that require precision when your mind naturally thinks in big pictures. Instead, become a strategist, a creative director, a visionary, someone whose job is to see the forest, not the trees. And hire people who love the trees. Partner with people who are detail-oriented. Let them handle what you cannot. Your lack of detail orientation is not weakness. It is big picture thinking. And big picture thinking is what creates movements, builds companies, changes industries. The question is, are you in a role that values it? The emotional truth here is simple, and it is profound. You are not broken. You are just in the wrong context. And once you find the right context, once you position yourself in terrain that suits your nature, everything that felt like weakness becomes irrelevant. It is never tested. It simply does not matter. This brings me to the second lesson, the strategy of avoidance. And this is going to sound counterintuitive, because you have been taught that avoidance is weakness, that real strength means facing everything, that you should never back down. But here is what I learned on the battlefield. The most strategic move is often not to engage. There are roads which must not be followed. There are positions which must not be contested. There are battles which must not be fought. And recognizing this is not cowardice. It is intelligence. Applied to your life, this means there are careers you should not pursue, not because you cannot, but because they require strengths you do not have. There are relationships you should not force. There are environments you should not endure, not because you are weak, but because they demand a version of you that does not exist. And trying to become that version will destroy you. Let me give you an example. If you are terrible at self-promotion, if the idea of constantly marketing yourself makes you sick, do not become a social media influencer. Do not force yourself into a career that requires you to be on camera, to perform, to constantly sell yourself. That is fighting in terrain that does not suit you. Instead, build something so good it spreads without you. Or partner with someone who loves promotion. Let them be the face while you are the builder. Your discomfort with self-promotion is not weakness. It is a preference for substance over performance. And there are paths where substance is enough. If you hate office politics, if navigating hierarchy and pleasing managers and playing the game exhausts you, do not force yourself to climb the corporate ladder. Do not spend 20 years trying to become good at something that makes you miserable. Instead, become an entrepreneur or a freelancer, or work in small companies where politics are minimal, or find a role where results speak louder than relationships. Your inability to play politics is not weakness. It is intolerance for bullshit. And there are entire careers built for people who value directness. The reframe is this: avoidance is not cowardice, it is intelligence. If you cannot win in this terrain, do not fight here. Choose different terrain. Choose battles where your natural strengths give you an advantage. Choose environments where your weaknesses are never tested, and refuse everything else, not because you are running away, but because you are being strategic. Here is the permission you need to hear. You are allowed to say, "This is not my battlefield." You are allowed to walk away from paths that everyone else says you should follow. You are allowed to refuse careers, relationships, environments that require you to be someone you are not. This is not failure. This is wisdom. This is knowing yourself well, enough to know where you belong and where you do not. The third lesson is the core of the entire strategy. Turn weakness into irrelevance through positioning. This is how you actually conquer weakness, not by eliminating it, but by making it irrelevant, by positioning yourself so your weakness is never tested, by building a life where your weakness simply does not matter. If you are disorganized, do not try to become organized. I know that sounds crazy, but hear me. You have probably spent years trying to be more organized. You have bought planners. You have tried systems. You have promised yourself you will finally get it together, and you are still disorganized. So stop fighting it. Instead, hire someone organized, or partner with someone organized, or build systems that require minimal organization. Use automation. Use reminders. Use tools that compensate for your disorganization automatically. Your disorganization does not have to be fixed. It just has to be compensated for. If you are introverted, if social interaction drains you, If networking events feel like torture, do not force yourself to become extroverted. Do not spend your life pretending to be someone you are not. Instead, build deep one-on-one relationships. Focus on quality, not quantity. Or create valuable content that attracts people to you so you do not have to go to them. Or work in fields where your work speaks for itself. Your introversion is not weakness, it is depth. And depth builds different kinds of connections than breadth. Position yourself so depth is valued. If you struggle with long-term focus, if you cannot commit to decade-long goals, if you get bored easily, do not try to force yourself into long-term thinking. Instead, build in sprints. Pivot quickly. Leverage your ability to adapt. Work in industries that reward speed and flexibility. Your inability to focus long-term is not weakness. It is adaptability. And in a world that changes constantly, adaptability is power. Position yourself where change is an advantage, not a liability. There are 3 positioning strategies I want you to remember. The first is delegation. Let others handle what you cannot. Stop trying to be good at everything. Identify your weaknesses and find people whose strengths cover them. This is not cheating. This is strategy. Every great leader understands this. You do not need to be complete. You need to build a complete team. The second strategy is system design. Create structures that compensate automatically. If you forget things, use technology. Use apps. Use automation. If you avoid difficult conversations, create feedback systems that are structured and impersonal. Use forms. Use scheduled reviews. Use written communication. Your weakness can be neutralized by systems that remove the need for your strength. The third strategy is role selection. Choose paths where your weakness is irrelevant. This is the most important one. Do not try to fit yourself into a role. Find a role that fits you. If you hate routine, do not become a factory worker. If you hate ambiguity, do not become an entrepreneur. If you hate being told what to do not work in corporate. If you hate making decisions alone, do not be a solo founder. The world is full of roles. Find one where you are naturally suited. The freedom here is profound. You are not fixing yourself. You are designing conditions where yourself is enough, where you do not have to change, where you do not have to become someone else, where you can just be who you are, and that is not only acceptable, it is optimal. The fourth lesson is one that people resist because it sounds passive, but it is not. Some weaknesses are messages. Not all weaknesses should be conquered. Some should be listened to. If you are always exhausted in a certain environment, maybe the weakness is not your energy. Maybe it is the environment. If you cannot focus on something, no matter how hard you try, maybe the weakness is not your discipline. Maybe it is the wrong goal. If you feel anxious in certain situations, maybe the weakness is not your nerves. Maybe it is your intuition telling you this is wrong for you. Your weakness might be trying to protect you from a path that is not yours. Think about that. What if your weakness is not a flaw? What if it is guidance? What if it is your inner intelligence trying to steer you away from something that would harm you? What if the reason you cannot make yourself care about something is because it is not worth caring about? What if the reason you cannot force yourself to be good at something is because you were never meant to be good at it? Before you try to overcome a weakness, ask yourself this question: is this weakness protecting me from something? Is it trying to tell me something? Is it pushing me away from a path that is not mine? And if the answer is yes, then do not overcome it. Listen to it. Follow it. Let it guide you toward what is actually yours. I have watched people spend decades forcing themselves to be good at things they hated only to realize at the end that they wasted their life becoming someone they never wanted to be. Do not be that person. If your weakness is persistent, if it will not go away no matter what you do, maybe it is not supposed to. Maybe it is there for a reason. Maybe it is trying to save you. The fifth lesson is perhaps the most unexpected. Leverage weakness as a filter. Your weaknesses eliminate options that would not serve you anyway. If you cannot tolerate office politics, this filters out corporate environments. It saves you years of misery. It guides you toward entrepreneurship, or small companies, or creative fields where politics are less prevalent. Your intolerance for politics is not limiting you. It is guiding you. If you cannot fake enthusiasm, if you cannot perform excitement for things you do not care about, this filters out sales roles that require performance. It pushes you toward authenticity-based work, toward roles where you can be honest, toward careers where your real thoughts and feelings are valued. Your inability to fake it is not weakness. It is integrity. And integrity guides you toward paths where you can be whole. If you cannot follow instructions blindly, if you question authority, if you need to understand why. Before you do something, this filters out rigid hierarchies. It pushes you toward leadership, or entrepreneurship, or creative fields where questioning is valued. Your inability to just obey is not weakness. It is independent thinking. And independent thinking builds things that blind obedience never could. The reframe is this: your weakness is not limiting you. It is guiding you. What if your weakness has been saying no to the wrong paths, so you finally find the right one? What if every time you failed at something, every time you could not make yourself be good at something, your weakness was protecting you? What if it was saying, "This is not yours. Keep looking"? The relief here is enormous. You do not need to be good at everything. You just need to be excellent at something. And your weaknesses show you what that something is not. They eliminate options. They narrow the path. They guide you toward what you are actually meant to do. Trust them. You see the strategy now. You see how this works. Weakness is not the enemy. It is information. It is terrain. It is guidance. And once you stop fighting it and start working with it, everything changes. But strategy without implementation is just philosophy. So let me give you the exact moves. Let me give you the practices you can use right now, today, to start applying this. The first practice is the weakness audit. I want you to sit down with a piece of paper or open a document on your computer, and I want you to list your top 3 weaknesses, the ones that cause you the most shame or frustration, the ones you have been trying to fix for years. Write them down honestly. Do not soften them. Do not make them sound better than they are. Just name them. Then for each one, I want you to ask 3 questions. First question: in what context is this actually a strength? Think about this carefully. Every trait has context where it serves you. If you are impatient, where does impatience help? In fast-paced environments, in situations that require quick action, in roles where waiting is costly. If you are overly cautious, where does caution help? In high-risk decisions, in situations where mistakes are expensive, in roles where thoroughness is critical. Find the context where your weakness is actually strength. Second question: what roles or environments require me to have this weakness fixed? Be specific. Write down the actual careers, the actual situations, the actual relationships that demand you be different. If you are conflict averse, what roles require confrontation? Management roles where you must fire people. Sales roles where you must push back on objections. Legal roles where you must argue. Write them down. These are the roles you should avoid. These are the battles you should not fight. Third question. What roles or environments would make this weakness irrelevant? This is the key. Where could you position yourself so this weakness is never tested? If you are terrible at details, where do details not matter? Strategic roles, creative roles, visionary roles, big picture roles. If you are disorganized, where does organization not matter? Creative fields, roles with strong support staff, roles where systems do the organizing for you. Write these down. These are your targets. These are the terrains where you win. Let me walk you through an example. Say your weakness is, I am terrible at details. First question, where is this a strength? In big picture thinking, in seeing patterns others miss, in connecting ideas across domains. Second question, what roles require detail orientation? Accounting, law, engineering, project management, quality control. Third question, where is lack of detail orientation irrelevant? Strategy, creative direction, visionary leadership, philosophy, art, high-level consulting. Do you see what just happened? You are not changing yourself. You are changing your position. You are identifying where you should not be and where you should be. This is the entire strategy. This is how you conquer weakness without ever fixing it. The second practice is to design one compensation system. Choose one of your weaknesses, just one, and design one system to make it irrelevant. If you forget things, implement automatic reminders. Set up calendar alerts. Use apps that ping you. Hire someone to remind you. Partner with someone organized. Build a system where forgetting does not cost you because the system remembers for you. If you avoid confrontation, create feedback systems that are structured and impersonal. Do not rely on yourself to have difficult conversations in the moment. Schedule reviews. Use forms. Use written communication. Build a system where feedback happens automatically, not when you force yourself to be brave. The system handles what you cannot. If you procrastinate on boring tasks, do not try to become someone who loves boring tasks. Batch them. Do them all at once so you only have to suffer once. Automate them. Use technology to eliminate them, or pay someone to do them. Hire a virtual assistant. Trade tasks with someone who loves what you hate. Build a system where boring tasks are minimized or eliminated entirely. The principle here is simple. Stop trying to become disciplined. Start designing a life that requires less discipline. Small systems eliminate the need for willpower. If the system handles it, you do not have to. And suddenly, your weakness does not matter because the system compensates automatically. The third practice is the strategic no. This is the hardest one because it requires you to let go. I want you to identify one path, one role, one commitment you need to abandon because it requires strengths you do not have. This is not quitting. This is strategic retreat. You are refusing to fight a battle you cannot win so you can fight one you can. Maybe it is a career path that everyone told you to follow, but that makes you miserable. Maybe it is a relationship where you constantly have to be someone you are not. Maybe it is a commitment you made before you understood yourself. Whatever it is, identify it and give yourself permission to let it go. The hard truth is this: saying no to the wrong thing is how you say yes to the right thing. Every moment you spend fighting in terrain that does not suit you is a moment you are not spending finding terrain that does. Every ounce of energy you waste trying to fix a weakness that will not be fixed is energy you could use leveraging a strength. You do not owe anyone a version of yourself that does not exist. You do not have to keep trying to become someone you are not just because you started. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to change direction. You are allowed to say, "This is not mine." Write it down. Speak it out loud if you can. I am letting go of this. I am no longer trying to be good at this. I am no longer fighting this battle. And then feel the relief. Feel the energy return. Because you have just freed yourself from a war you were never meant to fight. You came here wanting to conquer your weaknesses, to overcome them, to finally become the person who does not have them. But here is what I have shown you instead. You do not conquer weakness by elimination. You conquer it by irrelevance. You stop fighting in terrain that does not suit you. You stop trying to become someone you are not. You stop wasting energy on battles that were never yours to fight. Here is what we covered. Weakness is not absolute. It is conditional. The trait that makes you weak in one context makes you strong in another. Your job is not to fix the trait. Your job is to find the context. The most strategic move is often avoidance. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every weakness is worth overcoming. Some paths should not be followed. And recognizing this is not weakness. It is wisdom. You conquer weakness through positioning, through delegation, system design, and role selection, through building a life where your natural strengths are required and your natural weaknesses are irrelevant. Some weaknesses are messages. They are trying to tell you something. Before you try to overcome them, listen to them. They might be protecting you from a path that is wrong for you. And your weaknesses are filters. They eliminate options that would not serve you. They guide you toward what is actually yours. They narrow the path. They say no to what is not yours so you can say yes to what is. Trust them. Here is the transformation. You are no longer at war with yourself. You are no longer spending energy trying to become someone else. You are building a life that fits who you already are. And in that life, your weaknesses do not matter. They are never tested. They are simply irrelevant. You have made them powerless, not by destroying them, but by positioning yourself where they cannot touch you. You are not broken. You have just been fighting in the wrong terrain. And now, you know how to choose different terrain. Terrain where you win. Not because you overcame your weakness, but because you made it powerless. Because you refused to fight where it matters. Because you built a life where being yourself is enough. So here is what I want you to do right now. In the comments below, tell me one weakness you have been trying to eliminate. Just one. Name it honestly. And then tell me one way you could make it irrelevant instead. One change in context. One system you could build. One strategic no you could say. One way you could position yourself so that weakness is never tested. Write it down. Make it real. Because the moment you stop fighting yourself and start positioning yourself, everything changes. The shame lifts. The exhaustion fades. The constant pressure to be someone else disappears. And you are left with clarity, with direction, with the freedom to finally build a life that is actually yours. If this gave you a new way of seeing, if it lifted even a small amount of shame, if it helped you realize that maybe you are not broken, maybe you are just in the wrong place, then share it. Send it to someone, because there are people in your life who are exhausted from trying to fix themselves. And they need to hear what you just heard. They need to know that they do not need fixing. They need repositioning. Subscribe if you want more of this. Not self-help. Strategy, not motivation. Precision, not becoming someone else. Becoming more effectively yourself. Because that is what I teach. How to win. How to position. How to leverage what you have instead of mourning what you do not. You do not conquer weakness by destroying it. You conquer it by making it irrelevant. And now, you know how. You know the terrain. You know the strategy. You know the exact moves. Now go, build, position, win. Choose terrain that suits you. Build systems that compensate for you. Say no to battles that were never yours. And watch as your weaknesses, the ones you spent years trying to fix, simply stop mattering. Because you have finally stopped fighting yourself. And you have started fighting for yourself. And that changes everything. Go now. The war is over. You have won.